I want to first just say good morning and welcome, at least to probably, in my opinion, I've not been here in a while, and I think there's a question with some, kind of why is he showing up now on his way out of the city? And so I just wanted to talk a little bit today about that, quite honestly. And so one of the main reasons I'm here today is to just say thank you to the Mexican American community and the Latino community here in this city for what you've allowed me to do during my 7 years, and the friendship and the partnerships that I've been able to establish, and also change the way the city works with our Latin American community. And so, for me at least, I just wanted to say thank you. And before I get too far along, I wanted to at least recognize someone over the last 2 years who has been really critical for me and served me very, very closely. And that's Claudia Toscano. Claudia has been side by side with me the last 2 years, helping me really make and build bridges and keeping me aware of what is going on in the community that you support and that you really lean into to try to improve the lives of the young people as well as the elderly in your communities. And so I've just been really blessed and thankful for her and her guidance and leadership. And she encouraged me, even late in the game, to ensure that I showed up today to just say thank you for sure. I would say this, when we think about the last 7 years, and before I became city manager, some of the challenges obviously that the city has, we still have many of those challenges. But one of the things that I leaned into and understood is that we did not, as a city, really appreciate and value the Hispanic community in the city of Dallas as it relates to welcoming them into City Hall, empowering them, doing things that, one, we should have been doing, and improving on things that we were already doing. And I'm proud that we've made a lot of inroads in those regards, whether it's language access that we've incorporated and embedded in everything that we try to do at City Hall. We used to not communicate with residents who were either monolingual or did not speak English at all. With our documents, with our press releases, even with the materials that actually fundamentally help them better understand what's going on in their neighborhoods, from our land use planning and other things like that. We're doing that today, not just because I told them so, but it's embedded in what we do. I'd also feel good about the work we've done around racial equity. And I think we've really become a leader in leading with race and trying to eliminate disparities in our community through data, and really speaking truth to power when it comes to being able to identify where those gaps are and then actually do measurable things to change the levers of how we approach local government. And so for me, I hope in the next city manager that the city hires, that they hire someone equally as committed to racial equity, trying to improve upon the sins of the past here, particularly around land use and other things that have historically placed things in communities, particularly black and brown communities, with immunity. I don't think we're going to ever see the day where that's acceptable anymore in this city. I think the community is coming out because they actually feel us listening now. So keep doing that. Make sure your voices are heard. As council goes through this process of selecting the next manager, show up, share with them what you expect from them. Raise the bar even more. Ensure that whoever this next manager is committed to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Even though the state doesn't like us to talk about it, I think that's because they don't want us to realize it. And the black and brown community has to come together a lot more. When you add up those types of numbers and see those types of faces in rooms and involved in activities, you cannot do the things that don't benefit those communities if you want to continue to represent those communities. So again, I just want to thank y'all. The city's got a long way to go. It was my hope that I at least help move it along a little bit further. It's going to be up to you and the other members in the communities that really care about the city's future, particularly Southern Dallas and West Dallas. Those, as you've seen, those communities are the future of this city. The redevelopment and change and the move of things that are noxious, that don't belong in those communities, the infrastructure deficits that have to be addressed, the services that need to be provided at a better level and more of, those are the things that are going to change this city. This city is drowning, definitely. So you need to make sure you're there to ensure that all the things that you've been asking for, many of you, for many, many years, you're starting to see some of those things. Let's just make sure that the next generation, the things that you've been asking for, that they're actually around to see them. And then they're close to you and have places to go to be near their families because they're not being gentrified out of this community. So again, thank you for your support, at least for me, and I've seen it show up in my work. I haven't been here every time, a lot, but I've been working in the trenches with the people that sit at some of these tables. And I didn't ask for a lot of accolades, didn't ask for a lot of attention, do not even like being in the media, because I like doing the work. And that's why I do this type of job. So again, thank you, God bless you, stay strong, stay united, connect with folk who want to connect with you, and push people to do the right thing. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you.
We'll start with Ila. Hello, Mr. Rodnick, I'm right here. Thank you for the job you've done for us, but I always ask those hard questions that people are wondering about and they don't want to ask you, but I'm going to ask you. While you've been with the City of Dallas, can you tell me how you improve the inclusion and equity in hiring and contracts for the Latino community? We know we're the majority, but how do we represent in the community, in the city, with regards to hiring and contract assignments?
Sure, thank you for that question. And so I will say I'll start with the hiring of employees. You know, I said from the beginning, one of the things that has excited me the most about one, taking this position and really feeling comfortable talking about diversity issues, particularly around hiring. One, I think we've done a decent job, can do better. I think we've positioned ourselves at the city, particularly around hiring, where we've become more comfortable with and understand that as we look to onboard people, whether it's where we advertise, the intimate conversations that we have with groups and other organizations about what's available as it relates to jobs and positions at the city, we found a way to get out in the community and do that more. Secondly, as it relates to the managers that hire, we've ensured on our teams that those panels and those individuals that do interviewing, those things and those panels are diverse to ensure that we bring in the perspectives that allow people to feel as though they have a place at the table, and we treat each person that we have applied for our positions with the level of respect that they deserve so that they're comfortable in those environments. In my opinion, for me at least, my executive leadership team is very diverse, the top 7 people in the city. So I've made it a point to do that as well as encourage them. I believe that we've improved, in my opinion, our director and our leadership there when it comes to diversity. And you can go to our city's diversity website as it relates to HR, and you can actually see the diversity on our team citywide. I'm going to be working with them hopefully in my final months to be able to drill down on that more and get more specific. But I think we've done a good job there.
But what are the numbers specifically?
So, I got it. And so again, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head.
You're coming to Latino meeting.
I know well, you know what, let me look. Where's my, I'm going to get you. Where's the folder at? Claudia, do you have my folder? I'm sorry. I have numbers, I don't disagree. And so I'm not a politician, so I don't come with numbers and statistics too much. So I apologize for that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, our population has built up.
One question at a time.
In DFW. Right now we have close to 600,000 registered voters here in the Metroplex. The thing is, those Hispanics never have a chance to go out there and celebrate something that their heritage and all. We have the facilities and everything that Dallas offers or should offer for us to have something like that. I have all kinds of connections and everything. What can we do? What can we do? What can the city do to be able to put together some kind of festival or something to show our heritage out?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. We're going to answer the numbers and then we go to
Question on the floor right now.
Thank you. And then Hector and then Rex. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. So, my perspective will be from the executive management team level, the people that lead the city, from the assistant city managers to the directors and assistant directors. And so, as it relates to the racial makeup of that team, the racial makeup is, from an Asian American standpoint, it's about 4%. That team's probably about 140 people plus or minus. 4% Asian American, African American, 32%, Hispanic and Latino, 20%, and Anglo, 43%, and then 2 or more races, 2%. And so, again, at least at the level that I interact with directly, my team of 7 is pretty diverse. It has 2 Latinos on there, Liz Pereira, as well as Robert Perez, and actually a Syrian-born individual, Majid Al-Ghafri, and 2 African Americans, and 2 Caucasians. And so, again, I think our leadership and our encouragement of it, when I'm sitting at the table, whether it's assembling pools for me to consider hiring directors or approving assistant directors, that's one of the things that I focus on is the diversity of that pool, quite honestly, even before I get to decision-making standpoint, to really try to build my team, not just based on race, but the different aspects of what they can bring to the team. And race is one of those things that I believe adds some character to and understanding as it relates to the populations that we serve. So it has been a focal point of mine. I'll be honest, I believe it will continue to be a focal point going forward, because we've heard loud and clear, I've been in this business for 25 to 30 years, and the community should be reflected in the workforce from top to bottom to ensure that we understand and we meet people where they are when we provide the services. So great question. And again, I would encourage you to go to the city's diversity website that speaks to employees for our entire 13,000 and keep a watchful eye on that and hold us accountable for doing that. As it relates to contracts, one, we've got a lot more work to do in the black and brown, Hispanic and African American contracting standpoint, but we are making strides. One of the things that I've at least made a point to make sure is that as things come through our contracting, particularly big projects like the convention center now, I know there's going to be a lot of opportunity there that we're pushing back on some of the things that we hear from some of our folk that we're hoping to contract with, particularly when they're not respective of the numbers that we have as it relates to availability of contractors out there. And we're having those conversations, again, rooted and based on data, and we're holding their feet to the fire to ensure that they at least respect the numbers that we have as it relates to the availability of Hispanic contractors as well as African American contractors, and asking them to do more and do better. And in fact, when they can't meet those types of obligations, we find the will in some cases to move away from them and go to people who respect what some of our commitments are and what we need to be adhered to in this city. So there's a lot more work to do, but again, I think it comes from continued advocacy and continuous focus on ensuring that we have the numbers to back it up and you can have honest conversations with people when you're sitting at the table making those decisions. Great question.
Thank you. We go to Hector, Ray, and then Francis.
No, I want to ask to please be respectful of the speakers. We are sitting up here in front and we cannot hear the speaker unless he's got the mic because y'all are talking too much noise from the audience. So please, at least whisper or go outside to talk.
Thank you, Ms. Francis.
Thank you very much. Can I get him and then you have to real quick?
Yes.
So this gentleman asked about, I would call them signature events that really represent and reflect and embody the culture and the various cultures of the city, particularly Mexican immigrants and other Mexican American folk. I would say this as a city, and so I would just encourage you, maybe the next wave of conversation. The city does not have, in my mind, a lot of cultural and culturally significant signature events that we celebrate. You know, except for the ones that may be on the calendar that have historically been done. I would encourage this city, and I'll mention that before I go, particularly around our arts and cultural organization, to really figure out how we do that better. The city has not invested in those festivals, even MLK parades and MLK celebrations, quite honestly. We've not really put the money into those to celebrate those as citywide events. So I think that is a transition I think the city can make. I would offer this. We're hopefully going to be briefing the city council in the next few weeks on a historic preservation and cultural plan. And we've taken strides in developing this historic preservation strategic plan to speak more to and beyond just the four walls of a historic building, but to really begin to bring in and talk about and elevate cultural and culturally significant areas, buildings, and actually individuals in that plan to begin to be able to recognize the full breadth of the history of this city beyond buildings. Because as you know, in many cases, those buildings are often torn down that reflect and represent African American and Latino history. And so we want to move beyond that. So I would encourage you, as that comes out, that is a perfect opportunity to begin to talk about celebrating beyond buildings, beyond neighborhood designations, but really bringing out and sharing with the world, as we're an international city, the Hispanic and Latino community's contributions, and doing that through celebration and make that an appreciation marker for people to really be able to understand and enjoy and embrace the cultural significance that the Latino community's made in this city. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Hector.
Well, this question has like 3 items to it. The first one is, you know, we've been meeting with you regarding the whole aspect of procurement and how we have done since you came here 6 years ago. Can you tell us more or less where we're at? I know there's a lot of opportunities that are developing with the bond program and now with the construction that we had. And so I know there's a lot of people around this room that would like to have an opportunity to do business in the city, number one. Number two, I'd like to compliment you, and particularly one hire that you did is Eddie Garcia, who you brought in as the chief of police, has done a bang-up job.
Yes.
And not only that, but we now have not only the chief of police in Dallas PD, we have the chief of police at Dallas ISD, another city employee, and now we even have Cato over at DART, which is the chief of police. But I want to thank you for starting this great, trend to go out and bring our people up to become directors of their own department. But the first question again is procurement.
So there is a significant opportunity, thank you for that, Hector, over these next several years to really solidify and cement the progress and the growth that we've seen with our understanding that there are more seats at the table, particularly for Hispanic contractors, whether it's the program management level, which we still got some work to do as it relates to that, but building inclusive teams and hopefully elevating prime contractors to seats in the Latino and Hispanic community. So I would say this, we've got $1 billion worth of bond programs, and I would probably carve out maybe 200 million of that actually won't, really facilitate any real expansions because they're programmatic or very specific. But I believe where we're positioning particularly in our procurement office and our perspectives working with our small business center and the numbers in our recently updated disparity study, probably about 2 years ago, I think you're poised to be in position, and there is a watchful eye on ensuring that we don't go backwards. I believe the leadership of Kimberly Tolbert is going to only improve that because of her in-depth experience, much more than mine, in small business development and contracting. So I'm encouraged. In addition to that, I believe this generational project of this convention center, $1.5 to $2 billion, has to be an opportunity, not just to build wealth for some of our contractors, but to really help build capacity to allow and anchor future growth to happen on other projects. But I will tell you, I can't tell you the specific numbers, Hector, but I will tell you, we've got them. And when we're sitting around having conversations on any contract of any significance, we're looking at those numbers and ensuring that they either mirror them or exceed them. And we're putting our people on notice that we're not going to accept status quo and or historically underperforming in those areas. So I will assure you that those are the conversations we have. And quite honestly, and we will walk away from individuals who want to come in and not respect the work that we've done. So thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Renato de los Santos. We've met several times at the meetings that Hector was talking about. But my question to you is, for a brief moment, we will have Dallas Stadium here in the Metroplex in 2026. There are talks about what's going to happen in the future with the Mavericks and where the Stars play. And I want your opinion, not so much as a city manager, but individually, as a person, whether it is something that Dallas should be pursuing to ensure that we don't have the Frisco Mavericks or something like that. Maybe a soccer stadium here in Dallas. What's the benefit to the city? Is there a benefit? Should we pursue it? Should we work to keep the Stars and the Mavericks here?
Thank you for that question. So undoubtedly, those two organizations mean a lot to the city, and we should be doing everything we can to keep them here. As well as, to your point, we need to figure out, particularly through FIFA coming, how we ensure and maybe even court FC Dallas to Dallas proper. And so I will just say to you, those things are actually conversations we're having around City Hall directly with some of the folk that represent those organizations. So it's my impression, if I was a betting man, they will be here in Dallas and we will find a spot for them somewhere if they want to build. My focus, quite honestly, right now is ensuring that the new owners of the Mavericks help us to invest in the current facility, because they'll be there for the next 8 years, and improve the fan experience, which they've committed to wanting to do, to solidify themselves and share with folk that they're here in Dallas to stay. So definitely well taken, and I know soccer is a big deal in this community, and we want to ensure that, one, we foster more of that even outside the professional range, just to make sure our kids have some growth opportunities and obviously exercise opportunities.
Very good. Alice Martinez and then John Martinez.
Yes, Martinez. My question is based on communications and relationships. Okay, the media has given us a picture of what you and the mayor have been going through. So my question to you is, do you see the relationship getting any better within the next 3 months? If yes, why? If no, why?
So I'll just say this to level set. The mayor and I, we actually get along. We may differ on thoughts and recommendations related to some of the things that the city wants to pursue, but those things are guided by the city council, actually not the city manager. I'm just the individual who's supposed to carry those things out. Sometimes I get caught in the middle, and my personality is one as such that I lead from a position of authority, but also understand what my role is and what impact things that I do or say have on this community. And my community focus is always where I center my voice and my discussion. And so the next 3 months will be a good 3 months. I'm going to work as hard as I can to ensure that I set the city up to be much better than when I found it, and hopefully put it on a path, at least from an administrative standpoint, of a solid footing to allow them to continue to move forward, particularly on all the things that we have advanced for and because of the community's desire to see them better in this community. And so I'm going to continue to build relationships and build bridges all the way up through June 3rd and ensure that my team is positioned and feel comfortable that they can continue to do that on behalf of the city. So relationships matter. This one I do believe could have been better. I wish it had been better. I think the city would have benefited more immensely had it been a working relationship similar to my first 2 years. But that did not happen. And there's a right time and a wrong time to move away from something. Right now, for me, this is the right time to allow the city to be able to reset and the council to be able to coalesce and unify around a leader that they all can support and work with to, again, do the work that matters, and that's improving the lives of people. And it's been a great 7 years. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's built me and made me a lot better as a person. But I'll tell you, my love for the city has not diminished. This was the only job that I ever wanted as a city manager. So I fulfilled that dream and goal. And I'm happy about what I'm leaving because it's on a foundation of something that I cared about my whole life. And it's built on the predication of making life better for people, making it more equitable and meaningful. And so again, thank you for the question. And I'm hopeful that this last 3 months I'll be able to spend more time with people who want to hear about where we need to go as a city, and that they might listen to me to ensure that these things can continue to happen. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. And now, Regional Hispanic Contractors Association President, the Honorable John Martinez.
So, TC, first of all, I want to thank you for your service. I think that one of the things I've been proud of you is that you took every bullet and you didn't take any of the praise. So I want everyone to know that before I ask you this question or say this statement. I think as Hispanics, as Dallasites, we were very satisfied with one day we will get there, right? And I think we're going to get a lot of opportunity at the convention center because they always need people to do the hard labor, and that's us. We'll do the concrete, we'll do the drywall, but as you said, program manager, I don't think we have to wait till tomorrow. We have a Hispanic woman-owned company here who can do program management with over 25 offices across the United States and the bonding that she needs. So it's not, just like I said, when we gave Nikita and we gave McKissick, this black women-owned business, and I said, it's not that they weren't ready, it's that we never opened the door. And that's what we need to focus on the next 3 months. We need to make sure that we're not waiting for the Hispanics of tomorrow, but we're giving the opportunity that Hispanics are already prepared.
I can only say amen. Amen and amen again. I agree with you.
We have a question over here.
I thought these young
Where's the last one? Where's the
okay.
last question?
I'm not in the building industry, but I used to hear, and I still hear.
Questions.
There's a building permit issue. How has that process worked out in the city of Dallas?
We're going to end on that question.
Home buildings,
Got it. So, thank you for that question. I'm almost prepared for that question. So, first of all, permitting has improved immensely. I'll just say that. We ran into, as much chronicled, a real big issue, particularly with our single-family permitting over and during the pandemic. And, you know, not a lot of excuses to be made, but some factual elements that added to that. Overnight, obviously, as everybody experienced, pandemic was a traumatic event for a lot of organizations, and for us, it was as well. We used to do 10% of our permitting for single family online. The rest was foot traffic, people showing up. And so we went from one day doing 10% and preparing to try to do more to automatically overnight having to go to 100%. In our systems and our staff were not prepared for that 10% to 100% issue. And so that caused us to have a backlog. And once we created and had that backlog, it was tough to get out of it. So today's state is we are out of that backlog and at a normal queue. And where the time frames used to be months to try to work through that for some, and in some cases, I won't say a year, but very lengthy, we're now down to, on average, 8 days worth of cycling permits that are complete and meet our zoning, getting those things out the door. And so that has improved tremendously. Now on the commercial side of it, we're still having some challenges because we're still doing paper things there. We're looking to transition, as I understand it, to fully online to be more efficient there. Those numbers, when the plans come in and they have the proper zoning and they're correct, we can get those out in about 40 to 45 days. But when we have to cycle back through and make amendments and change plans just to get it right, the more back and forth that happens, obviously extends that time. So you will see times that actually, in some cases, will go over 9 months to a year. But that's communication going back and forth, trying to right size it. But if you submit a plan that is accurate, that can be reviewed without any changes, has the proper zoning, we can get you out on the commercial side probably within 3 to 4 months. We'd love to have that number down. One of the things that has helped us on the residential side is, again, the dashboard that shows very clearly in our new system, Excella, that shows where every permit is, who's holding it. Is it us? Is it them? We can drill down to show that we might have reviewed it and sent it back in 2 days, but their person on the other side has held it for 2 months trying to work it out, but they're telling their client in some cases that it's the city's process, the city's holding us up, when in fact it's in their contractor's hands. So we're being much more transparent, and that's cleaned that up. We want to do the same thing on the commercial side so that, one, we can hold ourselves accountable, but we can also hold the outside world accountable. But we've got our challenges on the commercial side now, and that's going to be the next wave of things we have to address. Great question.
Thank you very much. Last question, guys.
Amanda de los Santos with LULAC Council 4871. And over the years, I've seen where the conversation continues to be talking about communication and inclusion. And you yourself have mentioned that you have made strides in addressing the language barriers. And so I want to ask, what has the city done in efforts to make the city council meetings and the minutes available in both English and Spanish to make sure that we are bringing people to the table in a language that they can understand?
Thank you. And so the city secretary coordinates and handles the production of, recordings of the city council meeting, for one. I do know that I think if individuals who want to partake and come either sit in the audience and or participate in meetings, they can call the city secretary's office and actually have the proper equipment to allow them for the full translation of the meeting. I believe that. As it relates to the technology that might actually allow that to be happening in real time for everyone, I actually have to check on that. That's really not my side of the equation, so I'll just apologize in advance. But I know we've done a lot, particularly around sign language and the other things that I think we've done for ADA. But that is probably a growth opportunity, and I'll make sure I share that with the city secretary as well as our IT team to see if we can advance and do that. I know one of the things that we had committed to doing, particularly around just getting word out in the news, that the city's operations are doing, is a fully Spanish city access channel, which I believe we have and it's up and running. And Claudia will correct me if I'm wrong, in trying to do work in that effort. But our language access, I'll be honest, we went from almost nil, not even recognizing it and doing it, to where we are today, and I'm really proud of that. We've actually put money in the budget to ensure that it's enhanced, and we're offering more pay for our employees who are bilingual to put them in positions to ensure that we can communicate and talk with folks who may not be able to speak English when they are trying to obtain city services. But I will make a commitment and work on figuring out how to at least position the question for elevated growth in our council meeting. All right, I appreciate that question.
Thank you so much. And with that, let's give a Chorizo Menudo applause to TC Robbins and thank you for his tenure serving as the city of for being here with us. Thank you guys. And as he walks out, I also want to recognize the state representative, Benton Jones, which is also in the ballot, and he's joining us with us today. Also some of the LULAC leadership, past president Hector Flores. We have Gracie Cortez, Ana Coca, Ray de los Santos, all leaders within our organization. Also with us, and I just saw it today, one of my favorite former council members from Copper Hill, Claudia Sandoval. Miss Claudia, stand up. And for the ISD representative, Mr. Jerome Garza, here with us, leadership in the Latino community that is always there. And of course, I want to thank Claudia Martinez with the law office of Domingo Garcia, liaison with Domingo 2. And last but never least, my deputy chief of staff, La Señorita Blanca Torres, which here to serve. You also have on your tables my newsletter. As you all know, we have several projects. We are now celebrating Women's History Month. Ladies, if you haven't seen it, on the 5th, we have the 5th annual Dallas City Council and all the women elected officials, well, many of us. March 6th at Dallas City Hall is free from 11:30 to 1:30. Come and join us, celebrate with us all the achievements that we as women continue to do, not only in our city and our county. So with that, you also have some of the literature about Dallas County budget. This is a state mandate, so don't think that I just wanted to kill trees for the sake of it. But you can see what county budget is all about. So, moving along, our next speaker is Ms. Maureen Milligan. She's running for DISD trustee. She is a mom and a proud Dallasite who started her professional career as a public school teacher and later became a public sector attorney. With the City of Dallas Attorney's Office, she got drug houses demolished, partnered with federal prosecutors to prosecute violent offenders, and stopped dangerous business from operating close to schools. Maureen's commitment to public safety and community resilience extends beyond her professional career to her volunteer service. Maureen helps provide scholarship funding to DISD teachers. Maureen also serves on the board of a nonprofit that was selected by the Texas Governor's Office to represent child survivors of human trafficking who are charged with crimes. Let's give a round of applause and a welcome to candidate for DISD, Ms. Maureen.
I was going to give my stump speech. Well, first of all, my name is Maureen Milligan. I'm running for DISD trustee in District 1, which is up in North Dallas, Northwest Dallas. I was going to give my stump speech, but now I'm on the agenda right after my former boss. So you are first to hear today about my tell-all book. And it's called How I Survived Dallas City Hall's 4th Floor, The Trials and Tribulations of Working for T.C. Bronax. Absolutely. It was a privilege to work for TC in the housing department. He held all of us to very high standards, and when we met those high standards, he was willing to go to the mat to fight for his employees. So I really appreciate your service, TC. But so now I will get back to my stump speech. So again, my name is Maureen Milligan. I'm running for DISD trustee. And before I tell you about me, for you to really get to understand me, you have to understand my father and my father-in-law, because they're the ones who inspired me to run for trustee. So my dad grew up in an Irish Catholic family where he was one of 8 siblings. His family was extremely poor and his dad was abusive. When he went to kindergarten, he wasn't ready. He failed kindergarten. But his teachers got him ready. And once he got ready, he stayed ready. He graduated from high school at the top of his class. He went to community college and he graduated from a state university. And then he chose to become a public school teacher and then a public sector lawyer. And I've been proud to follow in his footsteps. My father-in-law grew up on the other side of the world in India. He grew up poor and he was raised by his grandparents. And when he walked to school for the first time for kindergarten, his grandmother dropped him off, and then she turned around and walked home. And didn't realize until she got home that he had followed her home. He wasn't ready for kindergarten either, but his teachers got him ready, and he stayed ready. He was able to graduate from a top university, and then he was able to immigrate to the United States to pursue the American dream. As the story goes, with one suitcase and $7.50 in his pocket. These are the men who have inspired me to run for DISD trustee. And the issues that are facing DISD are difficult. DISD is at an inflection point. The superintendent, our wonderful superintendent, Stephanie Elizalde, is being asked to increase student achievement with a decreasing set of resources. Last year, DISD passed a deficit budget that was close to $200 million. It's likely to do so again. You're starting to read in the newspaper about other school districts and other areas that are starting to fire teachers and close schools. And so DISD needs a person with my unique skill set to be added to the board so we can address these issues and we can strategically plan for the future so that our students can all receive an excellent education, pursue their dreams, and be prepared to participate in the economy of our future. So, I have a unique skill set, but first I have to tell you, there are very few things that I do very well. I can't cook. My husband tells me I'm the enemy of the kitchen. I can't dance. I have 2 left feet. And my 2 sons will complain that I can't memorize any sports facts. But what I'm very, very good at is problem solving. And I honed my problem solving skills in Dallas neighborhoods, working closely with community members, working with our police officers, our fire marshals, and our code inspectors to help make neighborhoods cleaner, safer, and more engaging, so all of our families felt safe and our children could go to school ready to learn. My office was originally in the Jubilee Park neighborhood to the east of Fair Park. I worked closely with community members there. In fact, one of my first case referrals was from the principal of Owen Roberts Elementary School when she noticed that a business had opened up across East Grand, and she was worried that they were engaging in drug sales. We inspected that business, we found illegal weapons and drugs, and we were able to get that business closed down. And I appreciated her leadership, that she was watching out not only for her children inside of the school, but also outside of the school. Right now, I'm really pleased to be working for a nonprofit organization that not only helps work on housing issues, but there were a lot of questions about small businesses. And we support small businesses and understand that women and minority-owned businesses are often shut out from accessing credit. And so we're an SBA small business lender. So I'm excited to talk about those things individually or when you have questions. But let me tell you about how I will use my problem-solving skills to address the issues that DISD is facing, but from a financial standpoint especially. So number 1, we need to continue to invest in the programs that have been proven to work and that we can pull additional state funding for. So we need to get more of our kids in pre-K so they are kindergarten ready, so they can succeed like my father and my father-in-law. And then we need to make sure that we're not just graduating students from high school, but we're preparing them to participate in our economy. So we need to continue to invest in our PTECs and our early college academies so that our kids can graduate with industry-based certifications and even with an associate's degree. 2, we need to focus on retaining and recruiting the highest performing teachers and school principals. In fact, I will advocate that we need to build a best-in-class teacher compensation system so that our teachers feel supported and valued for their hard work. But that will take some difficult decisions in terms of our budget. And we also need to make sure that our teachers can focus on teaching and not administrative duties. Number 3, we need to get back to the basics about how we build and support our schools. Because building a strong school really takes 3 basic things. 1, you've got to have an excellent school leader who's focused on high expectations and supports their staff. 2, you've got to have a staff of highly committed and highly performing teachers who are able to focus on teaching. And 3, we need to have committed parents and community members who wrap their arms around that school and are ready to support the vision of the principal. And then finally, and this is really where I bring a lot of my skill set, we need to get our school district and our local cities linking arms, linking strategies and budgets to build strong neighborhoods that support strong schools so that our kids can walk to school safely, they can live in safe and affordable homes, and they can go to recreation centers and libraries nearby that provide the programming that the children want and the children that will benefit from. I bring the skill set that will help build those partnerships so that we're not just relying on DSD's funding, but we're also looking at all the other funding sources, including county funding, that we can bring to the table to support our students. So I encourage you to go to my website at maureenfordisd.com. I encourage you to become a supporter, and I look forward to chatting with more of you this afternoon.
Any questions? Mr. Los Santos. And then Ms. Cervantes. Questions on?
I'll try to talk loud as I have the microphone. Oh, okay. Welcome to Chorizo and Menudo. My question to you is about the fact that Dallas ISD is over 70% Latino. One of the things that we have, a sad situation, we have very few Latinos on the board of trustees that you're trying to join. And there'll be one less after District 1 changes. What my question is around what Joe Carrion was successfully able to do and other board members in ensuring that the schools have community liaisons or parent educators with the budget constraints that are coming. What are you going to do to ensure that those positions continue, because they're vital to engage parents and community, but especially parents in support and bringing them to support the educational endeavors of the campus. Without that, I've seen too many campuses where the parents and the administration are at odds because they can't speak to each other.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I think that's a fantastic question. So first I want to address the issue. So I understand I'm a white female who's running to replace Hispanic board members. So I know that I have extra duties when I'm looking at helping to grow a new generation of leaders. Of people who may be interested in running for the school board. So serving as a person who can mentor our young leaders is absolutely something that I'm committed to. I absolutely agree that we have to maintain our parent and community liaisons, because if we don't have community support for our schools, and if our parents are not engaged, and even more importantly, if they don't understand what their students are learning and what their responsibilities are as parents, we're not going to move the needle in terms of increasing student outcomes. District 1 has some interesting demographics because it has a large Hispanic student population, but when you look at a lot of the very engaged PTAs, they're led by white parents. And I have seen that as I've met with PTA leaders, and I understand that's something that we really have to focus on in ensuring that we're finding ways to engage our parents, and that we don't define parent engagement just as attending a PTA meeting. That we have to understand that assets that all of our families bring to the table, and we make sure we're recognizing those as assets, and we hear their voices and we engage with them. So that would be something that, one of the first things that newly elected trustees will vote on is the school budget. Understanding where potentially some of those staff cuts are. I don't think there are going to be significant staff cuts this year. It's going to be not filling vacancies. So it's really going to be strategically looking for these next couple of years. Where do we have to cut, and what are going to be the biggest impacts on student outcomes? And parents, we know, are the most important out-of-school factor in preparing the student for school, so we've got to make sure that they're engaged.
Thank you. Ms. Hilda, and then Rene. I thought it was first. Oh, sorry. Ms. Cervantes. I'm sorry, Ms. Hilda. Ms. Cervantes.
Bueno,
ya está Ms. Cervantes, está perdido.
Bueno, primeramente pues les doy por esta gente y para los jóvenes. Pero me van a perdonar y le pido perdón a todos, pero voy a hacer una denuncia y una advertencia para todos los candidatos. Resulta que yo fui a votar el miércoles, yo quería votar por un candidato y me lo brincaban al otro. Y no me ha pasado una vez, me ha
Ok, Miss
pasado.
Cervantes, si puede hacer preguntas para el candidato que está hablando, y si no, yo luego hablo.
No, yo sé, pero necesita cuidarse, cuidar y mantener una persona que cuide su precinto porque están haciendo trampa las máquinas.
Okay. They need to be careful when we vote. Her voting machine. Last question for me, Ms. Cervantes. I will address it afterwards.
Ms. Milligan, thank you for being here with us today. Good luck in your election. When is the election for you?
May 4th.
May 4th. I want to ditto on what Mr. Renato de los Santos was talking about. I worked for Dallas ISD at a charter school for 21 years as a community liaison. And it's very important that administrators embrace community liaisons and enact the SBDMs, because the SBDMs are the ones that run the school, not the principal. They match together, otherwise it's not going to work. So I ditto him. We do need these parent liaisons, and they should be bilingual so that they can work with all the parents.
Excellent.
I agree with you. I'm on the SPDM for Nathan Adams, and I've got a chance to meet their liaison. Absolutely agree that they're a very fundamental part of the school.
Renee, can you speak loud?
We have the largest dual language program here in the SB in the nation. You say support teachers. How much do you know about that program?
Absolutely. So, oh, yes. So what Renee asked is, we have one of the country's largest dual language programs, and I said that I support teachers, and so how would I support that dual language program? So I think when I was a teacher, I was teaching primarily African American students, and so I didn't know a lot about bilingual education. So over this past year, I've been meeting with individuals so that I can understand what our bilingual education program provides and how it can be enhanced. So I'll talk about two things that I think are very important with that program. One is our superintendent has studied the data and has looked at the very key point at 6th grade, which is when our bilingual or English language learner students start testing in English. And she's starting to make moves to put 6th grade back into elementary school so that we're aligning the responsibility for getting our kids ready to learn English and to test in English at the elementary school level. So that the principal who is teaching that kid in elementary school knows that they need to get their kids ready to be able to test in 6th grade. And I support that strategy. I think number 2 is continuing to invest in both types of programs, our one-way bilingual programs, but also our two-way dual language programs. And I think our two-way dual language programs are fantastic because we are building a generation of bilingual and biliterate students who can then get a bilingual certificate on their graduation certificate and really be prepared to lead. I think it also adds more transparency to make sure that our teachers and our administrators are ensuring that students are truly becoming biliterate and bilingual.
Thank you very much. Let's give an applause.
Sorry, I have one more question. Here.
Okay, it's the last question.
I'll make it quick. My name is J.R. Mendoza. I'm the president of LULAC 4871, the Rainbow Council. I succeeded the late Jesse Tafada, and so I'm asking also on behalf of him because I know his work was very important for our community. And so, given the climate that's happening all around the country, how are you going to protect and make feel safe and welcome LGBTQIA students and teachers and any other staff member?
Thank you for that question. And I really would follow the lead of our superintendent, who I think takes a fantastic approach to this, which is this is our public school, and we're a public school system, and we're educating all students. And we need to make sure that we're creating a supportive and safe environment for all of our students, as well as our educators and our administrators. And I think that really starts at the school level. So making sure that our educators are trained and understand all of the life experiences, the backgrounds that children bring, and we're making sure that they're creating safe and supportive environments. And I think at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we are continually focused on student outcomes. Regardless of what your background is, we need to meet you where you are, and we need to bring you up so that you are able to pursue your dreams, whatever those are, whether it's college, career, or military readiness, but we do it in a safe and supportive environment.
Thank you so much. That's it, Mr. Los Santos. That's it. You know, I mean, you have your chance, and you know, we can be here you'll be able to ask her whatever you need to ask. Our next speaker is Ms. Haley Rodriguez Freeman, and she's running for U.S. Senate. She is from Fort Worth, Texas. Haley Rodriguez Freeman is a progressive 2024 Democratic candidate for the United States Senate in Texas. She was raised in Stephenville, Texas, graduated from Texas A&M University, and is an entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in the Silicon Valley startup scene. Haley is the founder of LULAC Bar, an award-winning nail salon and online education startup. She was one of the first 24 startups selected to participate in the narrow Backstage Capital Accelerator led by Arlan Hamilton. And she's also the co-creator of The Seeker, an inspired podcast for both nail technicians and the manicure enthusiasts who want to learn more about and advocate for the nail artists in our communities. Let's welcome, Miss Haley Rodriguez Freeman.
Like she was saying, I'm Haley Rodriguez Freeman, and I'm super excited to be here running as a progressive woman of color, tech entrepreneur, candidate from rural Texas. I'm here to really be the progressive voice for young people, for LGBTQ people, and for women. And like they said, I'm a working mom and a tech entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in Silicon Valley, helping build startups. One was a software as service company that helps small businesses be able to connect with their customers. The second one was in the nail salon industry, where I was trying to overhaul our very antiquated and broken beauty school systems, which are very predatory. And honestly, a lot of people from our communities, Black and brown communities and women, spend all this money for these beauty school licenses, and they teach you nothing. And so I was trying to solve those problems. But before all of my startup adventures, it's so important to talk about my history and my family's history and our Latino people's history in this state. When so many of us, we weren't taught this stuff in school, again, why it's so important. So I wrote it down because I have ADHD and complex PTSD from being in an abusive relationship. So sometimes I need to have my notes in order. So I'm obviously for mental health care as well. And so, so when we don't know our history, we are doomed to repeat it. Right? And so we as Latinos and Black and brown people have been pitted against each other for decades and decades, generations, okay? And it was awesome to hear some of the other speakers reference how Black and brown people haven't worked together. And there's this book, I highly recommend everyone to read it. It's called Fighting Their Own Battles. And it's the civil rights struggle between Mexican Americans and African Americans in Texas. And I don't know if y'all knew, so in South Dallas, there were bombings back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And they were bombings in the houses that were being moved in by Black people. And basically, the bombings were happening because of homeowner associations. Homeowner associations, who are mostly white, would pay some random ignorant folks to go bomb for them. And what happened was there was a couple of people who were doing the bombing, the actual, the people who didn't know much. Some of them were Latinos. And so, us being pitted against one another, I saw it even firsthand in my own family. So my grandmother, Pauline Gasca Valenciano, some of y'all know her. She is a civil rights activist from Fort Worth who helped Cesar Chavez back in the day for the grape and lettuce boycotts. And my grandmother, they were back in those days, not only were there the Black schools, there were the Mexican schoolhouses. How many of y'all here knew about the Mexican schoolhouses across Texas and the South? So yeah, not a lot of us knew that. Because again, it's not taught to us in our schools. So these Mexican schoolhouses, my grandmother got to put in one of these, like many Latinos in the barrio in Fort Worth, where La Gran Plaza is. And she was forced to stare at a dot on the wall. They put a dot on the wall, put your nose to it if you spoke any Spanish. It was torture out of our people, a lot of us. So not only in these schools, she didn't finish 5th grade. She left after all the fertilization, like many of her family members did. And what that did also taught her, hey, you know, for safety, don't speak Spanish. For safety, for my kids, my aunt and my mom right here. This is my Aunt Jody, this is my mom, this are their daughters right here. Don't sound Mexican. Don't be like that, or whatever the hell that meant, right? Because, hey, for your safety. And we thought that would help us, didn't we? No, it pitted us against each other is what it did. And if you look at, even in the 40s, 50s, LULAC. Again, my grandmother helped start a LULAC. Was it the Marlin one that she started? LULAC, American GI Forum. Again, great organizations who have done a lot for our people. Again, this is LULAC here. I'm here because of LULAC's work, right? And LULAC, GI, American GI Forum leaders, certain ones, they pushed court cases through that said, hey, based on the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, after that Mexican-American War, anyone above the Rio Grande is a United States citizen. And what that meant to some lawyers who are Latinos were like, hey, because of that, we're not colored, we're white. Because we were above the Rio Grande. That makes us white. That makes us citizens. So you can't discriminate against us anymore because we're not colored. Even though we are. Because Spanish came over here, colonized, mostly Spanish men came down, hooked up with the indigenous women. So we're brown. Sorry guys, hate to break to you, y'all ain't white, we're brown. Well, some of us are white, let's be real. But point is when that happened, again, we were doing it out of safety. We thought that this would help us. We thought that this would help us move forward in life. Our census doesn't even count us as a race now because of that. And flash forward, move forward in time. I'm growing up in Stephenville, Texas. It's an hour southwest of Fort Worth, a rural country town. Mostly white people, and the Mexicans were the farm workers, like my dad was. My dad came from Monterrey, Mexico, came over here illegally, eventually got his papers, worked at a pecan farm between Stephenville and Lincolnville, okay? He comes over here, meets my mom at a disco in Fort Worth, and they moved to Stephenville for the farm work, right? And I'm growing up in Stephenville, Texas, and I'm being told, and I sound like this, this is what I look like, this is how I sound, sorry. And I'm being told by, again, white parents and their kids who pick up these things, hey, you're not like those dirty Mexicans, you're white. I'm also told, hey, porque no hablas español. You're not one of us. You act white. Go with your white friends, you effing, because that's what the Latinos told me in my school. Saying I'm not Mexican. And so I'm in this self-hatred mode, like many Latinos, and black and brown people and people of minority backgrounds, are like, I'm not good whatever I am. And so we go through life not running for big office, not going for the big jobs, because we're told we're less than, especially women. And I grew up, again, ignorant of all of this history. Totally ignorant. And this isn't my grandma or my aunt's fault or anyone for not telling me every little piece of history. And we like to shame one another for not knowing your history. But again, all of this, all it's done is pitted us against each other. So the Latinos who can speak Spanish and the Latinos who can't, and the black people and the Middle Eastern people, none of us have universal health care. All of us are paying way too much for insurance for health. None of us have maternal health care. Black and brown women are dying in childbirth. None of us have reproductive rights. At 14 in Stephenville, Texas, because these evangelical leaders run everything in these rural areas, abstinence-only education that is proven to make kids have sex younger because of ignorance. And I'm at 14 having to drive to Fort Worth because I'm being pushed into sex by an older boy. 14! Having to drive to Planned Parenthood to get help because in my isolated rural area, in a very conservative environment, can't talk to anybody and I'm being isolated by an abuser. Telling me I can't be around my family. We aren't teaching our kids any of this stuff in schools. So again, young people, young women in this state, LGBTQ folks in this state, we are in danger. And I was getting flack for running for U.S. Senate. Hey, Colin's going to have all the money. No, you should run for something. You keep telling women to run for something smaller. We deserve to be here just as much as anyone else. Woo! Woo! Just as much as anyone else. And we've been shoved out of the workforce because of lack of childcare. I was shoved out of the workforce. I built 2 multi-million-dollar tech startups. I can't even work with, okay, my husband's making more. So, guess that's that. And women who are single moms are shamed for not being able to work or provide for their kids acting up in school because they don't got no support anywhere. Especially kids aging out of our foster systems. No one's giving a crap about that. Oh, but when we talk political talking points, and oh, hey, let's go for the moderate candidate because, hey, he has all the money. He must be able to win. We've been doing that for 30 years in this state. Has it happened? Have we won anything in 30 years? Are we going to keep doing the same thing? Or are we going to actually start standing up for the women in the state, and the Latinos in the state, and the black and brown people who work together? Okay. So yes, I am Helly Rodriguez-Perelman. I am running for U.S. Senate. I'm for universal health care that's not attached to any employer, reproductive rights, a ceasefire in Gaza, the ending of oil deals between the United States and Iran, which is funding all of this terrorism. And also, just we need more women in office who are getting rid of money in politics. Because right now, that is what made it. We keep nominating and pushing up the people at the top who aren't that great candidates. They're great guys. And they're always guys. And the Latinos like us, we're always working for them. We deserve to be there. So vote Helly March 5th if you have not voted yet. And if you've already voted, tell your friends, I'm sorry, I voted the wrong way. Vote for Helly. Helly Rodriguez-Perelman, because I'm here for y'all.
Any questions? Thank you for meeting. Can you tell us where we can find you on Facebook, Instagram, phone number, your webpage, so people can volunteer?
Yes. So
and a QR to send you money.
Yes. So on there's little flyers around that have my QR code in it. And it's helifortexas.com, HELIFORETEXAS.com. That's where you can support me by sending LULAC, because obviously I don't have it like Carmen does. But also Instagram, that's where I post the most. So it's Hey It's Helly is my Instagram. And I'm a mom with a 4-year-old who doesn't have full-time childcare. So I don't have time to post on every single platform all the time. And I don't have a team to do it. So Instagram is where I mostly post. I have some TikTok. I have a LinkedIn that has all my professional credentials. I have lots of references. I'm qualified and I can do this. So go to helifortexas.com, follow me on Instagram or TikTok.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Our next speaker is Ms. Lilian Prado Carrillo. Ms. Lilian Prado Carrillo is running for Denton City Council Place 6. As a Denton native, Lilian holds a strong passion for her community as someone who's grew up, taught, and is now raising her 5 kids in Denton, Texas. She is currently, she holds various titles, including being president of LULAC's Denton Council. In January of this year, she introduced the Denton community to its first ever Chorizo and Menudo, and continued the decades-long tradition from Dallas and forward. Aside from her commitment to LULAC, Lilian is also a member of the Denton Police Department Training Advisory Board and UNT's Public Health Program Advisory Board. Let's welcome Ms. Lilian.
Thank you guys so much. You might be thinking like, why, you're in Denton, why are you here? I'm also the director of D3, so yay, we're on D3, yes. But I wanted to come out, my daughter's passing some literature out just so you can have as a reference. If you don't like it, just leave it right there. But I wanted to share this with you. I'm really excited to be running for City Council in Denton. I see a lot of people here that are familiar, that I've had the pleasure of working with you in the past. And so I wanted to share this with you, and I wanted to come out really for support. Denton is a much different place than Dallas. So we're only about 35 minutes north, but we are a much more conservative area. Although we have two major institutions, it is still a place that is very conservative compared to other parts of the state. And so we have Texas Women's University, University of North Texas. We also have North Central Texas College. All three of those are HSI, so they're all three Hispanic serving institutions, yet we don't have the voters, we don't have the people that are coming out to actually take part in this public, just area so that they can actually have people that represent who they actually are. And so just let me introduce myself a little bit more. So my name is Lillian Prado Carrillo. I'm originally from Guatemala. Anybody from Guatemala here? Yeah, that's usually about how it goes. So, I was raised in Denton since I was 4 years old. My dad brought us here, obviously, for the hope of a better life. And so I tell people all the time, my dad was a visionary before he even understood what that was. He was the first in our entire family and many of the Guatemalans in Denton, right? So he is a trailblazer in my eyes and my first hero and my first teacher. But he brought me here with aspirations so that I could go to school and get that education. I was the first person in my family to graduate high school. I was the first person in my family to graduate college and go on to school. I was undocumented for all of my childhood up until I was almost 21 years old. My dad got his amnesty, he got his residency when amnesty came out in the 80s. But every time that he filled out my application, lawyers would take his money and they would never file my application. So I was undocumented. I graduated high school in 1998 before SB 1528 came out. So I couldn't go to college or I'd have to pay international fees. So I did the best thing I could. I went to work. I got as much money as I could. I hired an immigration attorney and I paid him thousands and thousands of dollars. And he looked at me when I was 20 years old and he said, "I'm sorry, you waited too long. You're gonna expire." And so if you're not 21, if before you're 21, you can get a residency if your parents claim you, but if you're 21, you can't do that. There is no pathway for residency, there is no pathway for citizenship, right? And so I looked at him and I kind of started teary-eyed, and my educator friend, my teacher that was with me from a program called Upward Bound, which I was a member of Upward Bound at UNT, she talked to him when I stepped out of the room, and when I came back, he looked at me and he said, "You know what? I'm gonna have to charge you expediting fees, but we're gonna try." In 10 days before I turned 21, I got my green card. 10 days. 3 months after that, I had a full ride to TWU under Dr. Rudy Rodriguez, who wrote grants for bilingual educators. So I became a teacher. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Rodriguez. I became a teacher. At TWU, I started going crazy. I joined every organization, tried to learn everything that I could. I got an internship with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute in Washington, D.C. in 2001, which was an amazing opportunity. I learned that summer in D.C. about LULAC, about MALDEF, against Laleo, Hakul, all these amazing Latino organizations, and I was like, oh my God, there's like a lot of Latinos that are educated trying to advocate for our community. Bless you. When the whole time that I was growing up, I felt very alone. And so that started my passion for trying to help others, for trying to communicate, and trying to make sure that we were helping those who were underserved and underprivileged and that didn't have a voice or didn't feel like they had a voice. Now, I'm not here trying to be the spokesperson for every Latino. I'm here to amplify the voices of those Latinos because they have a lot to say. We all have something to contribute, right? And so after that, after CHCI, I graduated at TWU. I became a teacher. I've been an educator for 18 years. I did leadership Denton in 2013. Like Mr. T.C. Broadnax, I got an MPA from UNT, a Master's in Public Administration, in 2013. With the sole purpose, my intent was not to go into city management. I didn't want to become a city manager. My intent was to be a professional person that if I one day ran for office, I wasn't just going to be a politician. I was going to be somebody that had the understanding and the backing and the knowledge to be an effective politician to advocate for the community. I did a Texas Public Policy and Civic Engagement Program in Austin with Las Comadres de las Americas in Austin. I also am a fellow, thank you, I'm also a fellow of the Latino Center for Leadership Development with Ms. Claudia Sandoval, right, that was preparing people and trying to get a pipeline of Latino leaders to run for offices, to local and state and national. So today I serve as the president of LULAC in Denton. I also serve as the D3 director, right? And so I invite you all to our convention that is coming up. It is going to be on April 27th at UNT Dallas, and we'll send more information out for that. And also make sure you pay your dues for D3, right? That's our plan. But let me tell you really quick, you know, city council, I've been thinking, obviously, of all the things that I've been doing, all the training programs I've been doing. I've been thinking about running for office for the past 20 years, right? And I kept seeing people that said, you know, Lillian, you should run, and you should run for this, and you should run for that. And every time I said, no, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. I want to be more ready, I want to be more prepared. But in the meantime, I kept seeing people that were asked one time, and they had no idea what they were doing. They said, sure, I'll do it. And they did, and they got elected into office, right? And so I understand what you're saying, that we do have to make sure that we have this representation. Now let me tell you about Denton. Denton is 25% Hispanic. 25, the city of Denton, 25%. The county of Denton is about 24, so we're almost there. Our K through 12 population is more than 31% Hispanic. On our school board, we just elected our first 2 Latinas, that are on our school board, right? But in city council, we have no representation, 0, nobody. And so I'm running for city council to make sure that the city council that is there is more representative of the community that we actually are supposed to serve. I'm trying to get there, right, to be the voice of whenever they're passing ordinances and adopting resolutions and all of the different things that are happening, that they see the unintended consequences that are happening for our community. Right? Things that they think have no reason to be discussed at the local level. Like Senate Bill 4. They said, well, why are we discussing that? That's a state thing. Well, that has implications at the local level. That has implications on how our police departments talk to our constituents, right? To the people that are living there, right? It has implications on how safe do they feel whenever they're transporting or communicating or living with people who are mixed status. And so we need to make sure that all of those things are taken into consideration. And we also need to make sure that our community feels that they have a voice. You know, I was here when you were talking and you were asking the city manager about bilingual and Spanish services, you know, for the newsletters and all of that. Everybody always says, you know, maybe that's the staff's position or but that has to start somewhere. And it shouldn't just be, oh, when someone requests it. When you have a population that is 48% Latino, that should be a given. Right? Just like in Denton, that should be a given, that all of the information that is available should be given in English and in Spanish. Now I want to make sure that I'm here, and I'm here for a reason, right? I want to tell you, Denton City Hall, when I was about 11 years old, so I started, my dad was a brick packer for 25, 30 years. I started cleaning houses with him when I was 11 years old. I started mowing yards with him when I was 13. Denton City Hall was the place that me and my dad used to clean in the summers. I would take out the trash from all those bathrooms and all of in the offices that were there. So today I'm seeking office to actually sit at the table. Quién sabe? One day maybe even be mayor. Quién sabe, right? So I'm for responsive government. I'm for transparent government, right? I'm for smart growth, making sure that we do have the economic development that we need in Denton, but also that we have economic smart growth, that we invite companies that are only going to be there that promote our values. I'll give you an example. Tyson Chicken was one of the companies that were going to have a refrigeration plant in Denton. When I saw that they were being considered and that they were coming, that kind of put something in me, a little fire in me, because that company has un acuerdo with immigration. Then sometimes they would allow those people to come in and do raids. Why would we invite that into our communities? Why would we invite that divisiveness and that fear into our communities? We don't want that. There's plenty of economic development that we can promote, that is smart growth, that is uniting, that is going to keep our values all intact, and that is going to keep allowing our whole community to grow together. That's what I want for the city of Denton. That's what I want for our partnerships with Fort Worth and Dallas. And so please, if you know anybody in Denton, invite them to vote for me. I'm running for place 6. It's an at-large seat. And if you have some money burning through your pockets, we appreciate all the help we can get, because my opponent is very well funded. And so last thing, in the city history of Denton, we've only had 2 Latinos serve on council. 2 in the history of the entire town. I would be the first Latina ever. So please vote for me if y'all are able to, if you know somebody. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your help.
You are more than ready, my friend. We appreciate this and send you so much as well. Okay, any questions? We start with it.
Yes. Well, it's not a question, I just wanted to compliment her. I did go to the first Chorizo Menudo in Denton. She had everybody who was anybody, city council and else, the police department, the chief, who's just not left you, I think. But you did a hell of a job. And the other thing I wanted to compliment you for realizing the American dream and giving back to your community. I think she needs to be applauded for that great effort.
Thank you.
Buenos dias. My quick question is, are you co-sponsoring anything in June that maybe this audience might need to know, especially our youth council?
Yes, so I am chairing the National Youth Conference, co-chairing with Ms. Ana Coca and Mr. Renato. So please, all the students come out to TWU. We're gonna have a great conference there. We're seeking sponsors right now, and so we're gonna try to give them the best experience that you guys can have. So I can't wait to have you guys up in Denta, Little D. Thank you, yes, we're very, very excited. Yes, thank you.
Renee, and then
Could I recommend that you consider down the road to move to Dallas?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Absolutely, thank you so much.
another question?
In the last city election in Denton, what percent of the actual voters were Hispanic?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know the exact amount, but I bet you it's pretty low. I do know that we have about 160,000 people, right? And only 10% of those people are registered to vote. Now at local elections, that number is even lower.
Yes.
And so I'll get that number and I will share it with you guys because it is very low. You know, that's one of the things that we're trying to do is going around and activating not only the Latino vote, right? But also the young people that are there, all of the different pockets of people who are in Denton and are not voting because they say maybe, I'm registered in my hometown. We want them to vote in Denton. The other thing, you know, that I know we are very complicated people. Latinos, we are all over the board, right? And so we have people like myself who are the part of the 0.5 generation that I call it, right? That I wasn't born here, but I was raised here since I was 4 years old. Then we have people that have been here for generations and generations. And so I'm trying to make sure through all of this is that we are all one people. We should be trying to advocate and to work together to advance everything that LULAC stands for, right? To advance not only the economic attainment, but the educational attainment, the housing, the workforce, everything for our people. And so thank you for asking that question. I'll make sure that I get those numbers.
Well, see no more. Let's give a round of applause. Let's work for Lilian Prado Carrillo. Her leadership is on the table. Her election is May 4th. Lilian, for May 4th. And guys, let's do what we do best. Call the network in Denton. Be sure to register to vote and vote for Lilian Prado Carrillo. And just as a side note, SB4 supposed to be in effect next Tuesday, and it was held, by U.S. District Judge in Austin. So it couldn't happen without a lot of advocacy from LULAC that continues to fight these fights for us. So moving on, thank you. Our last speaker today, last but not least, is Ed Turner. Ed Turner is the only candidate that has worked with the students, parents, and teachers to create solutions and get results for District 9. He is unwavering advocate for parents' rights and public education. Let's give a welcome to Ed Turner, running for DISD Trustee District 9 in LULAC.
Good morning. Thank y'all. My name is Ed Turner. I'm running for school board, District 9. I'm running for school board because education is dear and dear and dear to my heart. I grew up right in the heart of South Dallas. I'm a graduate of the great James Madison High School. I went to Phyllis Wheatley, Pearl C. Anderson, John Henry Brown, back to Pearl C. Anderson, graduated from the great James Madison High School, and you can't get any more South Dallas than that. I was actually the first in my family to finish high school, the first in my family to go to college, where I earned my bachelor's degree in finance, I earned my master's degree in international business. I stayed in Houston for 10 years, and I moved back to Dallas. And when I moved back to Dallas, I saw what the disconnect was between me having the education and my family members having the education. While I have a master's degree in international business, both of my sisters are high school dropouts. I see what their life is like. I see what my life is like. Night and day. Same household. You wonder what happened. Well, there's a disconnect because when, in my personal life, there was a time when my dad died, my mom became addicted to crack cocaine, and that took an adverse effect on my sisters, where I was a little bit older and was able to get away from it. But I didn't get here alone. It was teachers, it was principals, it was mentors that basically put their hands around me and kind of guided me away from all the violence and everything that was going on in South Dallas. And it was their help that led me to go to Texas Southern. And even at Texas Southern, I had mentors like Virginia Day. I was in the talent search program. I was in Upward Bound. I actually got an internship at NASA while I was at Texas Southern University. You know, that exposure to education taught me that you gotta have the education if you want to make things happen. So as I moved back to Dallas, I saw a lot of schools that I attended start closing down. Phyllis Reed, Pearl C. Henderson. These schools closed down, and it made me become an organizer. I left my lucrative business in the financial services industry and became a community organizer for the Texas Organizing Project, where I worked along many of you who I've seen in this room to fight against home rule. And we defeated the home rule battle with they spent like $10 million. We just had manpower. That's all we had. And we defeated the privatizers when it came to trying to privatize our educational institutions here at DISD. I took that same enthusiasm and I started getting involved in helping schools and campuses increase their parental engagement. If a campus didn't have an SBDM or a PTO, I came to that campus and started helping that campus increase parental engagement, increase their PTO, bring in partnerships, bring in resources, because DISD cannot do it all alone. Which brings me to the point of my platform and why I feel that collaboration is so important. So the first thing that I want to focus on is that I'm going to be a champion. When I say that school safety is so important to me, because we do not want any school to be the next mass shooting. And the biggest issue right now that our kids are facing is this fentanyl crisis. It is real. And we got to make sure that we equip our teachers, our educators, our parents to know what this fentanyl crisis is. One pill will kill. And I will be a champion for fighting for that. Fighting for that information. The next thing I want to focus on is early childhood, expanding pre-K3, pre-K4. We got to start teaching our babies at an early age. I'm going to be an advocate for full day, not half a day, but full day. College and career readiness. I'm so happy that our kids can now finish high school with a 2-year associate's degree. That will save them so much money going into the future when it comes to the cost of public education. While every kid is not going to go to college, we need to expand the trades, the job trades. I don't know, but I just built a house in South Dallas, and every time you got to call the plumber, that's a check. Every time you got to call the electrician, that's a check. When I used to live downtown in the high rise in Sky House, and the elevators would break down, I said to myself, these guys are making so much money every time these elevators break down. And I said, why are we not grooming our kids to be able to go into the trades, jobs that cannot be outsourced? That's what we need to have in Dallas ISD. We do have a CTE, but we have to expand it, and we have to do a better job at marketing and making it available for the kids that want to be interested in those programs. Teachers. I am a supporter of teachers. And one thing that I want to advocate for when I'm trustee and working with my board members is increasing the contributions that DISD contribute to healthcare. As of right now, they only contribute to the healthcare costs for the individual teacher. They don't contribute to the healthcare costs when you add a child or add a family member. And that gets quite expensive. So we want to talk about retaining teachers. Let's start talking about the costs that they're spending when it comes to their healthcare. Because healthcare is very important. Commitment to community. I am a big advocate of having community engagement and understanding that we cannot get things done in silos. It's going to take a collaboration between parents, teachers, community partners to all work together to do what's in the best interest of our most valued resource, which is our kids. And last, I leave you with this. When I was in high school, when I was in college, and we used to come back home, watch the football games, and my high school principal, Mr. Leon Hamilton, saw me at a football game. He pulled me to the side, and he said, I want you to come ride with me. And he said, listen, I don't want to see you back at another football game here in Dallas. You need to go to Houston, you need to stay in Houston, and you need to graduate. There's nothing here for you. And I don't want to see you back here until you can get back. He said, don't come back until you can get back. 10 years later, I came back and I've been giving back ever since then. And that's why I'm asking for your vote. That's why I'm asking for your support to be on the school board, because I want to continue to do the work and do what's in the best interest of all the kids in the ISD. Thank you for your support.
Any questions? Rene.
What is your feelings about bilingualism, bilingual campus leaders, bilingual teachers, the fact that 75% of our school district is Latino? Unfortunately, we've had very few board members who have not supported bilingualism. In fact, one actually went on record to say that we didn't need a bilingual superintendent. So what are your feelings about that?
Okay, all right. No, I'm in 100% in agreement that we need more bilingual teachers. If you look at the amount of kids that are coming to our school district that don't speak English as a second language, those kids deserve someone that speak their language, understand their culture, that's going to be able to educate them to be able to succeed in their life. And we need more. We have a shortage. So I'm definitely an advocate of bringing in the right teachers to talk to our kids and educate our kids.
Anyone else? Seeing and hearing
I
none.
have a question. I'm a middle school math teacher, and I like what you talk about when it comes to vocational ed.
It's like because 20, 25 years ago they started demonizing vocational education. And so if you're black or brown, sure, do you want to promote being a carpenter, being a home builder, being a welder, HVAC and so forth? If you're white, you want to do that to Hispanic and black kids. And so yes, when you're black, it seems to be, or brown, it seems to be okay for us to push that, even though we know the person could be making a lot of money before a typical student graduating college. And so the question goes to, because you mentioned earlier, how are you trying to promote vocational education? Or how would you try and promote vocational education to all students, whether it be your district or Dallas ISD?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to promote. I think the reason that we're not getting a lot of kids in the CTE programs in high school because we're not doing a good job on promoting it in the middle school level, okay? And we're not doing a good job in promoting it in the elementary level and letting the parents know that these type of programs are available for their kids. Every child is not going to go to college. Trust me, I got Sallie Mae send me a bill every month. I hate to pay it. So I think it's a great opportunity for not just black, brown kids, but any kid that wants to go and do construction, do plumbing, to have the skill set to pick up a trade. I tell people I practice it. I get paid to work from the neck up, okay? I wish I was great with my hands, but I'm not. And I'm almost envy those who can come out there and build some stuff and put stuff together. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. But I do know for a fact that by expanding it and having these different trades, it's only going to benefit the economy, benefit these kids, and benefit their future. And that's why I'm an advocate for it, all kids who want to participate in those programs.
Okay, last question is, and I forgot to introduce our new LULAC, parliamentarian, national parliamentarian, the best parliamentarian in the world, the Honorable Francis Rizzo. Francis, a question.
I'm not sure that this is a real question because it's philosophical, and I think that that's where we are with you right now. In Dallas, Texas, I'm a Chicana, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. But I could not speak English when I started school at Thomas Edison Elementary School, way back before it was even in middle school. We would get punished for speaking Spanish. When we started fighting for bilingual education in the Dallas ISD, I was married, had children. I did not want to see my children punished for the same things we used to get punished for. I got involved in school politics. We fought not for just to teach children Spanish, English, but to teach them how to be bilingual both in English and in Spanish. We lost that somewhere along the way because bilingual education became a political football, people fighting against us, la raza. They didn't want us to be bilingual. Well, we finally understood that we are the only country, the United States of America, that thinks that it's smart to speak only one language. We should be at a very minimum bilingual, and in Dallas, Texas, and in the state of Texas, that should be Spanish and English. And God bless you if you speak more than 2 languages. That's where we are. Where are you with that?
Okay, I'm glad you raised the question. So let's go. I have a 13-year-old daughter. She's in the 8th grade. And the first school she went to, with my first wife, was a teacher, was at Travis World Language Academy in Grand Prairie ISD. And my daughter, from the age of, from kindergarten all the way up to the time when her mom passed, was learning bilingual, was learning English and Spanish. She's one of the top kids in her Spanish class right now. Matter of fact, she just got accepted to Booker T yesterday. So I am a firm believer that we live in a country that's multilingual, and everybody should have an opportunity to learn multiple languages. And our Spanish-speaking kids should have an opportunity to learn English as well as our English.
It's working just
Okay, as well as our English-speaking kids should have the opportunity to learn Spanish if they choose to. It should be made available to them.
Yep.
That's my position.
Very good. Let's give applause to everyone. This election is on May 4th. But remember, guys, you know, this coming election, this coming Tuesday, March the 5th, is election day. You know, answering Ms. Cervantes' question, remember it's a joint election. You can vote in any voting place in Dallas County. Doesn't matter where you live. We have county-wide voting. And the only thing, since it's a joint election, Democrats and Republicans are in the same polling place. So you have to be sure that you identify your party. Otherwise, you can get the wrong ballot, which is what has happened to some of our seniors. So be sure you say, I'm voting on the Democratic Party or on the Republican Party. Okay? Sounds good. With that, we move into announcements. And we start with Mr. Rey de los Santos, Francis, and then Eva.